to picture a battle scene where you have two forces going up against each other. There is a white banner that has been stained by blood, and there is also a dark banner. And behind the dark banner, we have demonic forces. We have Satan. We have the forces of hell. And behind the blood-stained white banner, we have angels with excelling strength. We have God. And we have all the unfallen worlds which are unite with us to go up against the powers of darkness. Now, a prayer warrior is one who finds themselves behind the blood-stained banner, and they are warring not just to stay behind the banner, but they are fighting to help others move from the side of being behind the dark banner of Satan to come on the side of Jesus Christ, to come on the side of God, the victorious side. A prayer warrior finds themselves at the front of the battle because they are going directly against the forces of darkness, and in their own physical strength they are no match for the powers of hell. But that's the reason why prayer warriors unite with God. Here's my experience. My sister had just come to visit with my niece, and as a family we were all together enjoying each other's company. We were laughing, and it was just a grand occasion. And that's when it happened. In the midst of enjoying each other's company, I felt a heavy burden resting upon me that I needed to pray. I had no idea what the situation was, but I understood the feeling because I've had that before. And so I removed myself from their presence and I went into my mother's room and I began to pray. If you're wondering what kind of a burden I'm talking about, it's that kind of burden that you sense that something is about to happen. You do not know what it is, but if you don't pray, it's as if it's going to have an impact on the situation. And so there I was in my mother's room and I was agonizing with God in prayer. In the midst of my prayer, the Lord spoke to me and he told me to pray for a particular sister. Now, I had received this prayer request from a pastor who had asked me to pray in behalf of this lady who was not looking well. I remember we would have been praying for her for days, and the Lord said to me clearly that I should pray for her. And while praying for her and asking God to heal her, in the midst of that same prayer, the Lord revealed to me that this lady was going to die. And understanding the situation, if you are told by God that someone is going to die, how do you handle that? Definitely I was praying against death and I wrestled with God. My family at that time, they were still out there, they were hearing me, but it's as if their presence was not felt to me any at all. And I was there crying and begging God to spare this woman's life. I was begging God, and the more I begged him, it's like having that conversation with God. The more I begged him, the more he's saying, no, she's going to die. And for a long time, I was there praying and asking God to spare this woman's life. And I gave God all the reasons as to why he should spare this woman's life. And the more I was pleading with him, the more he kept denying, and the more the burden on my heart kept intensifying. And I was in tears, begging God as if this woman was a relative of mine, as if this woman was myself and I would have heard that news. And the more I kept asking God to spare her life, the more he kept on denying. It was the heavier the burden got. And then I gave up asking for it, and I began to pray and ask God that since it is that he refuses to spare her life, I asked the Lord to grant her that moment to set her life in order. And I kid you not, that in that very moment when I prayed that prayer, I knew it was accepted. The burden was lifted from my heart. And I could tell that God answered. The call came in to say, sometime after, that indeed she would have passed. Share with us what you have experienced thus far as a prayer warrior so we can inspire and help somebody else to join in this great legacy of being a prayer warrior for Jesus Christ.